I stood in the middle of our living room, holding the mortgage papers with trembling hands. My heart pounded in my chest. I could barely get the words out. "You mortgaged the house?" My voice cracked as I stared at Mark. He didn't answer. He just sat on the couch, hunched over with his face in his hands. He looked like a child who'd been caught doing something terrible. The silence between us stretched on, heavy and painful. My fingers gripped the documents tighter as my eyes filled with tears. The words on the page blurred. Line holder first capital mortgage, outstanding balance, $200,000. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My name is Karen Bennett. I'm 42 years old. I'm a full-time nurse and a mother of two amazing kids, Mia, who's 10, and Dylan, who's 13. My life has always been about keeping everything together. I'm the one who wakes up before sunrise, packs lunches, drops the kids off at school, then heads to the hospital for a 12-hour shift. After work, I'm cooking dinner, helping with homework, folding laundry, and then doing it all over again the next day. Mark and I have been married for 15 years. We've had our ups and downs, like any couple, but I thought we had a strong partnership. We weren't perfect, but we were a team. I believed we had trust. Clearly, I was wrong. I always took care of the small stuff, paying bills, buying groceries, budgeting for the kids' school supplies. Mark handled the bigger things, like taxes and insurance. I trusted him with that. I never questioned it. I never thought he'd do something like this behind my back. But now, everything was unraveling. It started with a letter. I found it while cleaning the kitchen after dinner one night. Mark always let the mail pile up, and I was annoyed as I sorted through it. Most of it looked like junk, but one envelope stood out. It had the First Capital Mortgage logo on the corner. My stomach tightened. I opened it, and my whole world shifted. The house we'd built our lives in, the home where our kids grew up, had been used as collateral for a massive loan I didn't know existed. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, a clerical error. Maybe they'd mailed it to the wrong address. But no. As I flipped through the documents, my hope crumbled. It was real. Mark had done this, and he hadn't said a word to me. I went straight to the living room where he was sitting, and I held the papers up. "Mark, tell me this isn't real," I said, my voice shaking. He didn't answer. He didn't even look at me. "Say something," I shouted. Finally, he mumbled, "It's not what you think." "Then explain it to me," I snapped, "because from where I'm standing, it looks like you mortgaged our house behind my back." "Our house, Mark, do you understand what that means? Do you even care?" He looked up slowly, his eyes red and tired. I didn't have a choice, Karen. I was in a tight spot. I froze. Those words felt like ice. What kind of tight spot justifies this? He didn't answer right away, and in that silence, something inside me clicked. The late nights, the excuses, the missed soccer games and school events, all the strange behavior suddenly made sense. "It's the gambling, isn't it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't say anything. That silence was all the answer I needed. Years ago, when Dylan was still in diapers, Mark had gotten into trouble with gambling. He lost part of his paycheck on sports bets. I found out when I saw a credit card bill that was higher than usual. He swore it was just a one-time thing. He promised it would never happen again. And I believed him, because I loved him, because I wanted to believe in him. But this wasn't just a credit card bill. This was our house, our children's future. "How much?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He looked away. "Karen." "How much, Mark?" He finally answered, "About 100,000. I couldn't breathe. $100,000, I said, backing away. My voice cracked. "How could you do this? How could you risk everything we've built?" "I didn't mean to," he said, standing up. He tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. I thought I could fix it before it got out of control. "But you didn't," I said, tears running down my cheeks. "You didn't fix it. You made it worse. You lied, and now the kids might lose their home." "I swear I'm going to fix it," he said again, but his words meant nothing to me now. That night, I couldn't sleep. Mark passed out on the couch, but I lay awake in our bed, staring at the ceiling. My thoughts wouldn't stop racing. I thought about Mia and Dylan, about how to keep them safe from this mess. I thought about how hard I've worked all these years, only to have the ground pulled out from under me by the person I trusted the most. And I thought about the look on Mark's face when I confronted him, not guilt, not shame, just fear of getting caught. By the time the sky started to turn pale and the sun rose, I'd made a decision. I couldn't trust him to fix this, not anymore. It was time for me to take control. For my kids. For myself. Mark leaned forward in his chair, trying to sound calm. Karen, this doesn't have to get ugly. We can work this out if you just stop tearing everything apart. I stared at him in disbelief. My voice shook. Tearing things apart? Are you serious? You're the one who brought us here. You lied to me, gambled away our money, and mortgaged our house without even telling me, and now you want me to pretend it didn't happen? I made a mistake, Mark said, looking defensive, but I can fix it if you just. No, I cut him off. You can't fix this, not this time. I've spent years cleaning up after you, and I'm done. His lawyer cleared his throat and began flipping through a pile of papers. If I may, he said, we believe Mr. Bennett has a right to remain on the mortgage, and that his financial contributions. Contributions? Jennifer, my lawyer, cut in sharply. Let's be clear, Mr. Bennett's so-called contributions are what got them into this mess. My client has proof he took out loans without her consent, violated their financial agreements, and risked the home their children live in. If we're talking about rights, Mrs. Bennett has every right to protect herself and her children from further harm. Mark's lawyer looked uneasy. Mark, on the other hand, was turning red with anger. This is ridiculous, he muttered. You're blowing everything out of proportion. I took a deep breath and met his eyes. No, Mark, what's ridiculous is what you've done. You've lied, you've gambled, and you've put our future at risk. But I'm not going down with you. I'm taking control of my life, for me and the kids. The mediator stepped in, trying to calm the room. In the end, the biggest decision left was about the house. Mark said he wanted to keep it, for the kids, but I knew better. It wasn't about the kids, it was about control. That house represented power to him, and keeping it meant I'd stay tied to him and his mess. I'm willing to sell the house, I said, my voice steady. It's the only way forward. Mark looked stunned. You're really going to sell the house, after everything? Yes, I said quietly, because their future is more important than that house, and I won't let you ruin it anymore. The rest of the meeting passed in a blur, signatures, agreements, papers to be filed. When it was finally over, I walked out of that building feeling like I could breathe again. For the first time in years, I wasn't stuck cleaning up after Mark. I was free to build something new. It wasn't some big, movie-worthy victory, no applause, no perfect ending, but it was real. I'd taken back control. I arranged to sell the house, clear the debt, and put what was left into a trust for Mia and Dylan. It wasn't the life I once imagined, but it was a fresh start, and I was grateful. That first night in our new apartment was tough. The kids were asleep in their small new rooms, boxes were everywhere, and the place didn't feel like home yet. I sat on the couch, sipping tea, staring out the window at the city lights. The house was gone, so was the debt, but the emotional weight was still there, years of stress, of disappointment, of pretending things were fine when they weren't. Losing the home we built so many memories in hurt, but I kept reminding myself, a house doesn't make a family. Love, stability, and safety do, and I could give that to my kids, even here. The next morning, Mark called. His name lit up my phone like a warning. I didn't want to answer, but I did. Karen, he said quietly, just wanted to check on you and the kids. We're fine, I said evenly, settling in. There was a pause. I know I messed up, he finally said, but I want to fix things. I want to try again. His words hit me like a wave. For a moment, I felt the old pull, the urge to fix things, to forgive, to make it work, but I remembered the lies, the debt, the hurt. I remembered the strength it had taken to leave. I can't do that, Mark, I said gently but firmly, not this time. Karen, please, I can change. Then change, I said, but I'm not waiting for you anymore. I hung up, my hands shaking. It wasn't easy, but it was right. I wasn't his fixer anymore. I was my own person now. That night, I tucked Mia and Dylan into bed and looked around our small apartment. Mia had taped a drawing to the wall, a rainbow. Dylan was already stacking his books on a little shelf. It still didn't feel like home, but it felt like ours. We'd been through a storm, and now, we were finding our way back to peace. Over the next few months, things kept getting better. The apartment turned into a real home, messy, noisy, full of laughter. Mia painted a mural with her handprints on her wall. Dylan started baking. He proudly made cookies after school. At work, I stepped up too. I enrolled in a certification course and joined a nurse advocacy committee. I started speaking up, sharing ideas, and getting noticed. My manager hinted at a promotion. A year ago, I would have laughed it off. Now, I believed I could do it. The biggest shift wasn't the job or the apartment, it was me. I stopped measuring my worth by how much I could fix for others. Mark's betrayal forced me to learn something I should have learned long ago. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away. I started setting boundaries. When Mark called asking to visit the kids, I told him clearly, only if it's consistent and healthy. The old me would have hesitated, but not this time. Fine, he grumbled. I could tell he didn't like it, but he didn't argue. That, too, felt like progress. One Saturday, my friend Sarah dropped by with coffee and muffins. To the new Karen, she said, raising her cup, "Look at you, living your best life." I laughed. It doesn't feel perfect, but it feels peaceful. Because you're finally putting yourself first, she said, it's about time. She was right. I'd spent so many years lost in everyone else's needs. Now, I was learning to trust myself, to stand up for what I wanted, and believe I deserved something better, not just for my kids, for me. That night, I sat on the balcony with a glass of wine, watching the sun dip behind the buildings. I let myself feel proud, not just for surviving, but for rebuilding. This wasn't the life I planned, but it was mine, and it was honest. There would still be challenges. I wasn't naive, but for the first time in years, I felt ready for them. This wasn't just a new chapter. It was a brand new book. And I couldn't wait to see where the next pages would take me.